Welcome back to the show, everybody. We're going to talk about XRP price. We're going to talk about support and resistance markers we need to pay attention to. We're going to talk about some of the price targets above and new all-time high that we're really after, and we'll get into that. And we're also going to talk about the urgent need for the United States to redefine its critical infrastructure for the digital era. Let's go ahead and roll this beautiful intro.
This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at BackupBradleyAbove and everything that we're talking about here. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. We're headed towards 100,000 followers there. We have a lot of news we cover that doesn't always make the show, so make sure you follow us there. 34,000 plus right now for Bitcoin. It's up 9.18% on the 24-hour. Ethereum is 2,500 plus. It's up 4.38% on the 24-hour. We see Cardano is up 5.68%. It's at $1.55 this morning. We look at XRP right now at the courtesy of the dereliction of duty by the SEC and intimidation tactics. We're at the number 7 spot. Just underneath Dogecoin, we are at 86 cents. We are up 3.93% this morning. A little bit of money returning from the first video this morning. About 100 billion or so come back into the market. We are at 1.44, I believe, this morning. Let's look at the range for XRP right now. We're ranging at the low end of 79 cents. At the top, we're at 88 cents plus. And we have to keep an eye on this. We will hear from Dark Defender, the technical analyst, is one of many that we have on the show here that really keeps us informed on where we're going with price or where we may go. So let's keep a look at here. Let's move through the news as quickly as possible right now. So this is from BondCrypt XRP, Hall of Famer. It says Kraken employees work under rigorous security regime to preempt potential cyber attacks. Employees are drilled about security protocol. Despite frequent attempts at cyber attacks, the company's defenses have yet to be breached. Now, that is something to be proud of right there, no doubt. Shout out to Kraken for that. DJ Peter Vass, another Hall of Famer, says, trillion-dollar big tech giant Amazon, latest to show interest in building with crypto. It goes on to say that the big tech giant is looking and showing interest in the budding DeFi market. Well. I mean, it's not a surprise, right? It really isn't. And it's just exciting to see these kinds of headlines happening on the precipice of getting the regulation we need, not only in the U.S., but I believe internationally. We're going to lean into that a little bit before this video is over. So looking at this is from BondCrypt here. There's an article out now that says $20,000 price warning for Bitcoin as investor anxiety surges. A fresh wave of Bitcoin valuation anxiety is pointing, some say, to new price floor concerns, possibly as low as $20,000 for the coin. Now, I have to tell you, I go back and forth with this all the time. I've held some Bitcoin, I've not held some Bitcoin, and I do believe that there's going to be some kind of carbon footprint tax and regulation that affects proof of work tokens like Bitcoin. And I don't think Bitcoin really makes a great case for itself when I just came back from the largest Bitcoin conference in the world and they got pictures of U.S. Treasury officials that are beat up and bloody. I don't see how that helps the cause. But at any rate, we know that the price may dip as low as 20,000, they're saying. And with that, apparently, this good news is not affecting price at the moment. El Salvador becomes the first country to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. However, I think ironically enough, it helps another cause, and that's XRP. And I believe that because we know that Ripple has been working very closely over the last several years with the IMF. And we know that the IMF has stated on stage at times with Brad Garlinghouse that, in fact, that another country were to adopt a cryptocurrency, it could then open the door for the IMF to participate in doing the same theirself under that current legal framework structure that was expressed back in 2018. If that still is the case, then this opens the door for the IMF to jump into the cryptocurrency world from the way I understand it, right? Okay, so, with that being said, I do believe Bitcoin lasts long term, and I don't think that, its troubles will extend beyond that. It could end up doing very well, and I personally believe it will. And none of this is financial advice, by the way, but that's just my thoughts on the matter. And if it goes that low, I'm probably going to accumulate again. Again, not financial advice, just sharing my feelings about where this is all going. And if anything, I think the idea of Bitcoin being adopted by a country really provides even more conversation for a neutral bridge currency like XRP to sit between all the government digital dollars and the commodities of the world and the derivatives market, and obviously cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, even if they're adopted as legal tender. All right, we see here another article here from DJ Peter Vass. This is Visa teams up with Goldman Sachs. This is not something we haven't covered before, but I just wanted to highlight here that, this is how big all of this is, right? Visa, MasterCard, the largest payment providers in the world, are a part of the new digital era. Make no mistake about it. And Goldman Sachs, too, no matter how much you heard about for a long time, if you've been in this space, they didn't believe in crypto. Well, they're selling it to their wealthiest clients, right? This is really, really moving into an interesting part of the video here today. And this is, listen to this from Bond Crypt here. Satoshi Pay receives R&D grant from Stellar 4 Pendulum blockchain. Pendulum blockchain is a new second-layer blockchain connecting Stellar to the wider DeFi ecosystem, adding smart contract support and bridges to Ethereum and Polkadot. Same time, federated sidechain announcement. This is exactly right. And I mean, this is also at the same time that we hear Ripple and their federated sidechain announcement. And this is about really having these protocols, these ledgers, be interoperable with this sidechain capability here with pretty much anything. And that's how you get to where, these protocols become so important, just like the simple mail protocol, translation protocol that is used for the internet or the email delivery today, or the FTP, the file transfer protocol that helps to move files across that protocol. I think this is how the market infrastructure is really being revealed to us about the new digital market infrastructure. And I believe these two are going to be major, major backbone pieces to it. Again, not financial advice. Here we see Flare News here and Flare Networks. I want to remind everybody, either sometime this month or within a 2 to 4 week span, either way here, we hear from Hugo, who says to watch out because they're planning to launch anytime now. So this is really, really exciting. I've been excited about this network for a long time, and the ability to, the utility that will be brought to XRP and the entire digital asset ecosystem here. We see here that they've raised and had a fundraising round where they raised 1.2 billion yen, which is the equivalent of $11.3 million for their efforts. Well done. We will keep an eye on that as it gets closer and closer to launching. All right. This is Rishi Sunak, I believe is how you say his name. If I've messed it up, forgive me. He announces a historic agreement by the G7 on tax reform. This will take us into the next section of news here. Listen to this.
To announce that today, after years of discussion, G7 finance ministers have reached a historic agreement to reform the global tax system, to make it fit for the global digital age, but crucially to make sure that it's fair, so that the right companies pay the right tax in the right places, and that's a huge prize for British taxpayers. This is the first step. This is agreement amongst G7 finance ministers, and next month we'll have a G20 finance ministers summit to make further progress. But I think the crucial thing for people to take away is the principle of fairness. That's what we've achieved today, to ensure that there's a level playing field for all types of companies, and whether it's people operating in tax havens or it's digital companies, we're going to level the playing field and inject that principle of fairness into our global tax system.
There you have it right there. And I think that says everything you need to know. And they talked about the digital age, right? Fintech kind of style companies they're pointing at, and avoiding these safe havens for taxes around the world, eliminating that possibility for corporations and companies. They know what they're headed into here. There's no mistake. However you may feel if the governments around the world, US included, are dragging their feet, I would encourage you to know that if they've reached this kind of landmark on an international G7 level, then there's a very good understanding about how they're going to move forward in this new digital age here. Very clear. Because when taxes are made clear, that's because they know what things are. They've made a decision. And that's one of the reasons I'm excited to find out what the tax structure will be and how these things are classified, because then there's no more conversation about guessing what these things are. So a lot of that gets done because this is such a new space, and we shouldn't get on each other for it. Here we go. U.S. must redefine critical infrastructure for digital era. Now, this brings in another agency that I think we need to pay attention to. Remember, these things, where's the value, as Glenn Hutchins likes to say? The value is in the protocol. The price of the token is a distraction and, in fact, uninformative. It's in the protocol and the ability to serve as real, true market infrastructure, as I believe the XRP Ledger and Stellar Network, to be perfectly honest with you, I believe do. So in looking at this article, I wanted to show people that it was the FCC, right? It was the FCC who really had a big hand in the early days of the internet. Let me just read just a little bit of this to you. America's definition of infrastructure has remained largely unchanged since the New Deal, when the federal government updated roads, railways, and water supplies ahead of World War II. Back then, communications technologies were in their infant stages, radio broadcasting, FCC sole focus, but over the past 25 years, digital communications have evolved at a rapid pace and become a foundation of daily American life. Unfortunately, pandemic revealed major weakness in our modern communications infrastructure, including issues the country must address before another disaster strikes. This points directly to the market manipulation of GameStop deal. We all went over that. It points to the cyber attack on the U.S. pipeline, for which now they went in the back door and got that Bitcoin back. And which, you know, there's a whole nother narrative there, where they've been telling you this is an anonymous coin, anonymous network, and they went and got that ass. Yeah, you can write that down. That's not an accident. They've been doing that so all the bad actors of the world would funnel down into Bitcoin. They could follow what you've been doing. Get ready, because they're probably going to come and get you next, and I hope they do. And now here, and then we have the other aspect. We saw the largest meat producer get ransomware attacked as well, right? All of this points to antiquated infrastructure. Well, it's the FCC that played a huge role here in the early days of the internet on these topics. If you just take a look at this PDF that I pulled up here, Restoring Internet Freedom, okay? And then this was a declaratory ruling, report, order, and order. And what it talks about here is restore the classification of broadband internet access services as information services versus the public utility. And I'm just showing you some of these highlights. Ending public utility regulation of the internet and basically returning back to it as an information service under the act, right? Well, we know what the internet is. It is a series of protocols that make up one federated unit, one federated system that acts as one experience, right? With all these multi-layered protocols that are a part of giving that overall experience. Well, isn't that in fact what the payment networks of XRP Ledger are? It is a payment protocol, just like a protocol for sending email or file transfer, right? So if we're seeing that, then I think we could see something that rhymes, where the FCC may come in and maybe we see a public utility regulation of this protocol for a certain period of time, and then it moved to just I don't know if it would be information services, because this is moving more than just information. This is moving value. So I think a combination of seeing the Treasury, right, FSOC, regulatory agency connected to the Treasury, possibly the FCC to a degree here because of the moving of information digitally, these are the places I think we need to really pay attention to, aside from the obvious, legislation in Congress and what goes on with the SEC lawsuit with Ripple. So that's just something I wanted to focus on. Now, before we get out of here, we don't talk about the FCC much. I think it is a good place to start paying attention to, along with others. Now, before we get out of here, I promise we take a look at price. So let's go ahead and do that really quickly here. This is from Dark Defender. He says, hi there all. There are no significant changes for XRP. However, the daily triangle is very narrowed down. As you can see, he's pointing to right here. Resistance are 91, 106, 133, 173, 241. And on the lower side, the support is at 80, 73, and 65. And that's where we're at on this day. Nothing has changed as far as what these price calls and targets are. They're all still very real because we're still operating in this overall triangle. We haven't busted below it. So as long as we're sitting inside of this range, and as long as this triangle continues to narrow, we're going to start to get to a rubber meets the road place right in this area here. And it's going to prove to either hold and bounce up, or it's going to break and fall lower. And if it does, we'll pay attention to where it goes from there. All right, that's going to do it for me. Shout out to everybody, Dark Defender and all you, for following the channel. Hit that like and subscribe. Make sure you leave a comment below, and check out all the links in the description box and the comment section. By the way, link to, baby, Private Investing Made Simple. I tell you, this stuff goes so fast on the platform. If you are registered accredited investor, get on there and get what you're going to get. And if you're not, try to register and see what you need to do to be able to become accredited. And then you can have access to these things. They are really great products. And so are the other links in there. Make sure you check on them. They are trusted, vetted links. I'll catch all of you on the next one.